you have this child, this little 6-pound peanut. You're in a hospital. Your wife's beat up, bleeding, cut, sick, sore, tired, sweaty, and then they're like, okay, get out of here. And you put this thing in a car seat that it doesn't fit in, that it can't hold its head up, and you just go home. It blows my mind that they're just like, yeah, all right, well, we did our part. I don't know who's responsible.
Please don't apologize.
It's too late. Apologize. So I should wear this mic when I'm doing TikToks now too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And now you can just plug this thing in, that thing in the bottom of your phone, and then it should just work.
Cool.
I've never used it with TikTok, so I don't know. But when I plug in mine that I have, it just works.
Okay, cool.
So,
I mean, I usually make the TikToks and load them in, and then add bullshit.
Yeah. So you'll know. You just test it once, and then figure it out. Okay. All right.
You ready?
So what should I do at the beginning? Should I just be like, should I look at the camera?
Yeah, we'll look at the camera.
Okay. How do you want to start it? Like, how do you want just so you can practice? Like, when your guest is here.
We're both looking at the camera. Okay. And I'm gonna do the intro you talked about without you saying like hello. Like I'm gonna be like, hey, this is what we're doing today. I got my friend Bobby with here, and then I'm gonna ask you a question, and that's when you start. You're not like hello, how are you? Like I'm as close to a cold open as I can. So a visual cue that we're starting, so when I edit later, I can cut it out. What's up, everybody? My name is Jeff Schaefer, and welcome to the first recording of the Long Island Dads Club podcast. I have probably the most important guest I'm ever going to have on this show today. One of my best friends and my best man in my wedding, good friend Bobby Shortle, who is one of the better dads I know, a Long Island dad who shares our experiences, and that's why he's here to talk about being a Long Island dad. Bobby, how hard is it being a Long Island dad these days?
You know what? I think being a dad in general can be difficult, but to be honest with you, it's probably going to sound a little bit corny when I say this.
Yeah.
I love being a dad so much that I really don't find it so difficult, except when my son is being a little shit. That's the only time it gets difficult.
So it's not Long Island related, the challenges out?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's expensive as hell to live here. It costs so much money to live here. That's really tough.
I brought this up because we both have tried to move in the last year.
That's true.
So would it be easier being a dad in Charleston or Minnesota or Chicago? Like, is the challenge? Here's the challenge I have as a Long Island dad. Okay, I live in Patchogue, East Patchogue, just on the border of Bellport there. And
don't dox yourself.
I live at 86 Smith Street, and I live in a nice middle class community. You've been to my house, you know I'm looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And if you drive 2 minutes south, there's literally billionaires who have homes in the village of Bellport and on the water there.
True.
If you drive 5 minutes north, it is a collection of poverty that is also tough to live with. Now, my son, when he goes to some of his friends' houses, he's like, hey, can we have a big house like Peyton, or whatever it is, or like one day.
It's so funny because you have a big house.
I mean,
you have a really nice house.
I enjoy my house.
Yeah.
But he'll go to his friend's house and be like, I like that house better. I want to live in that house.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, well, that's a $1.8 million home, buddy. I don't know if we could do that. And I think those challenges and just having the disparity in wealth in Long Island, I think makes it hard.
Well, the problem for me, right?
And enjoy the chicken tenders and the French fries. We're eating a very kids meal here.
We're at this lovely bar. I think, the cost of living like everywhere obviously is like really tough, and Long Island and New York is especially difficult, right? It's like one of the more expensive places to live in the country. Like if you look up like how much does a family of 3 need to live comfortably here, like collectively 70-80% above like the national average or whatever for most people. And I think like a lot of people, even our age at this point, I'm still renting, because I have never been able to afford to buy a house. And even renting is incredibly expensive and crazy. And it's like to find a place that has that is built for people to live in, that has enough rooms for your family to live in, is so insanely overpriced that it does become very difficult. Like, and my son has definitely at times been like, when am I gonna be able to have this, or when am I gonna be able to have that? And like that's the toughest part.
Yeah.
He wants and even stuff just beyond like normal living stuff. He wants to go on vacations. He wants to go to Disney. He wants to go to whatever. And it's like, buddy, that costs like
it's so hard.
$5,000 for
It just, yeah, it feels like you're taking things away from him, and maybe it's competitive. I don't know, and maybe I'm just making it up as a dad, where it's like, we go on vacations a lot, but it's hard, and we don't go on the vacations I want to. We did a cruise last month, but cruises in hurricane season out of New York in the rain are a lot cheaper than, so we try to make it work. But it's that feeling of like, am I not doing enough for him? Am I holding him back from things that his friends are getting?
Yeah.
I think that might be like the scariest part about being a dad in general is, am I not doing enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that just a me thing? By the way, I'm like triple dipping in the ketchup. Is that okay?
That's fine. No, I mean, I don't think that's just you at all. I mean, I think about it constantly. And the thing I try to keep reminding myself is that in the end, the things that he's going to remember or the things that are going to stick with him when he gets older and through his life is mainly that he had, a safe, comforting environment where he knew he was loved the whole time. And that's what's really going to stick with him. Like, he'll have memories of doing these fun things with you, going on vacation, stuff like that. And those will be good memories for them. But I think instilling in someone that sense of safety and that sense of, belonging and caring, I think it really helps with self-esteem and all that kind of stuff as they get older. And maybe I think they even think about, right? Because they're definitely going to not appreciate everything. Yeah. They're going to scream at you. They're going to things are unfair. But I think when they get older, I think as both of us have gotten older.
We've gotten older?
Yeah, we've gotten older. I think you start to realize the things that either you didn't or did have when you were younger that are what are actually important, and you would trade like, oh, I had a nice bike for my mom was there a little bit more than she was, or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think that's why I try to remind myself. It doesn't always work. I often think about it all the time. He'll ask for things. I'll be like, buddy, I'm sorry, I just can't do that right now.
I spend a lot of time doing this where how do you evaluate yourself as a parent, right? I guess the only way I've been able to do it is compare myself to the parents I've had, right? Like, is that, what conversations do you have with I'll be like, hey, I may not be perfect, but Popo's here to take us away.
For being a bad dad.
So I may not be perfect.
You probably wait.
We'll go up the road. But I'm doing things that I thought I missed in my childhood. And I think about that a lot. Like, without going and listen, it goes back and forth when talking about my parents. Like, I know they tried their best. I know they did what they could. But, I maybe remember too much the things I didn't have or didn't get. And a lot of that is time.
Yeah.
And, I try to make sure that's what I give Henry. Henry's my son, and your son is Desmond, by the way. So we're just going to call them by
mention their names.
We just both have, I'm also a stepdad. A very lucky situation. My wife has a daughter who's 24, 25, who graduated college, got a job out in Colorado, so she's very much a part of her life, but she's far away. So I don't have a lot of parental responsibilities there. Yeah. But she's great.
She's a wonderful girl.
Wonderful girl. Henry loves the shit out of her.
She walked down the aisle with me when I was your best man. So.
That's right. And you have your son Desmond is 8.
He's 8 now. Yep. Yeah.
So those are the things. What conversations do you have with yourself of the question am I a good dad? I ask myself that all the time, and then how do I measure it? I guess is what I'm asking.
The only way I measure it is how much he's willing to tell me things and be honest with me. Because as they get older, I mean, you're not at that point with Henry yet, really, right. Where he has where he's just starting school, but he's not in a situation where there's actually social dynamics really happening yet, or he's having self-esteem issues or whatever, that kind of stuff comes a little bit later. But him being willing to tell me things and that he's honest with me is very important to me, and I think that shows that there's a trust and that he has with me, which is really important to me.
Any surprises that he told you that you're willing to share? That they're like, oh wow, this is that moment,
No, not actually a surprise, but I will say that last weekend I took him on a play date with some of his friends. They went to see the K-pop Demon Hunters sing along.
Sounds great.
In the movie theater, and it was 8-year-olds, and it was crazy loud. It was Rocky Horror for children. They were literally saying all the lines, not just the singing them. They were saying all the dialogue lines.
I know the song "Golden." We're going up, up, up.
Yeah,
there's a couple.
They're all great.
Okay,
they're all great. I've heard them a million times. But my son, most of his really close friends are girls. So we're in the lobby afterwards, and he's like, he's picking them all up, and they're all having a great time, they're laughing, and there's one of his friends she's just bigger than he is, and he tried to pick her up, and she fell over, and he fell with her, and he banged his head on the floor of the movie theater, and he was crying, and he's like, "Can we just leave?" Because he was embarrassed too. And I didn't see what happened. I just was like, it looked like their friend had run over and tried to hug him, and they had fallen. And so I had a little bit of like my dad like defensiveness up, where I was like, "How dare she do that?" But I didn't say anything. That I just like, let's just go. And he apologized as we were walking out, and I was like, "Don't worry, it's not your fault." And he was head really hurt. And then we were like halfway home, and he goes, "Daddy, I just have to tell you," he goes, "Abby didn't knock me down. I like tried to pick her up, and I made her fall." And it's like, I told him,
set you free.
Yeah, I said, "I'm so proud of you that you were honest with me, because you could have let me just believe that none of it was your fault at all."
Yeah.
So that was a really good moment. But the only thing that I can do as a dad, I feel like, is just, and sometimes I put too much pressure on myself with this even, is to just always be there. Like, if he has a thing going on, I'm there. If he needs somebody to pick him up, I'm there. If he's in the morning, he wakes up and he's scared, I'm the one who wakes up with him. Like, it's just like, I'm always like doing that. And I think to the point where I do sometimes overextend myself, and too much, where I become like almost like the default parent, Like, I think a lot of dads will talk about like, oh, they're always like, when they really want something, they go to their mom,
Yeah.
But that's not what it's like for me. Like, if Desmond wants something, he comes to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be all overwhelming, but also in that sort of selfish way, I love it. I love that he comes to me. It makes me feel really good.
So Henry comes to me for that stuff, for problems or stuff, and just a lot of dad attention, which I am so happy to get. And every once in a while, and I feel so guilty when it happens, where I'm like, man, dude, I just need a little break. I need 10 minutes. Like, it's been an hour of dad, and I'm like, oh. And then my wife will be like, hey, you did this. You asked for this, you like this, and like, and she's super supportive and always there to help me when I need that moment. But it is, I don't want to say my fault, but I did create that situation, because he also falls asleep on my arm every day. And there's so much going with it, but it can be a lot. But I noticed we're both in our early 40s, and I forgot your age for a minute. I knew you were younger than me. I didn't know how much. And there's a lot of dads our age who I feel like have this conversation of the time part of it. One of my neighbor buddies, he's got a 3-year-old kid, and he's like, hey, my dad didn't put this time in. I made a promise to myself that I'm going to be that dad, that for that part of it, I'm going to be there. I'm always going to be around. And he's out playing with his kid. Every time, he's just there constantly, and he's doing it. And do you think, like, dads our age are better at this in general, or is it just the people we know? Like, I think this is a situation for all dads in their 40s now. Yeah, so I mean, again, and a lot of this is anecdotal, because I haven't done like research into actually looking into the stats. Right. But I have seen a lot of stuff that is basically like millennial dads, who we belong to. Hold on tight, just to the very edge of it. Spend like some very large percentage more time with their children than their fathers did, right? I think, not that, like, you're talking about evaluating how your parents were. Like, my dad was around a lot. Like, I never felt like I was like, where's my father? I never had, like, cats in the cradle with a spoon moment with my dad. My dad was always around. I had a really good relationship with my dad. He had some issues. Like, he definitely struggled with some stuff with alcohol and stuff like that, and that took him out of the, like, later when I got a little older, like, he was less involved in my life for sure. So it's not like I was like, oh, I got to make up for like what I was missing. But for me, it was almost like, I can't imagine not wanting to spend every moment I possibly can, and I don't understand the other way of thinking, I guess. So it's tough for me to evaluate it, When you run into those dads, and they still exist. Oh, I gotta go spend some time with the kid today. And I'm like, actually, that's been on my to-do list since I woke up, because it's my favorite thing in the world. You know, I was lucky enough to have 2 dads, my biological father and my stepdad, who I both love very much. And they both had different parenting styles, and some of the I understand it more now as I get older, like especially with my stepdad, where I grew up with him. I mean, I moved in with him when I was 4 or 5, and that really was there for every moment since. But he worked a lot. We owned a restaurant, and he was there. And there was times I resented it, but looking back, I think it's what he thought it meant to be a good dad. Like I'm going to work like crazy, I'm going to provide for my family, and that's I'm a good dad because I'm doing that. Yeah. When to your point, hey. To your point, we may have exchanged some of those things for going to an extra football game and things like that. But there's no right way to be a good dad.
No.
And I think it's the craziest part about being a dad to me is there's no instruction book at all, right? People talk about that as a joke, but you have this child, this little 6-pound peanut. You're in a hospital. Your wife's beat up, bleeding, cut, sick, sore, tired, sweaty. And then they're like, okay, get out of here. And you put this thing in a car seat that it doesn't fit in, that it can't hold its head up, and you just go home. Like, it blows my mind that they're just like, yeah, all right, well, we did our part. I don't know whose responsibility it should be. But they do say, they're like, here's a 20-minute video we need you to watch before you leave the hospital. And it's like, hey, your baby can't swim. Don't put it in the dryer. Did you have to watch the video?
To watch a video.
Oh, they made us watch a video in the hospital.
That's so funny.
All I remember is that video and the chair.
Prove that you could put it in the thing, yeah.
No, not the car seat. The terrible chair the dads have to sleep in.
Yes, yeah, totally, absolutely. It is terrible.
Is it every hospital?
It basically is, yeah.
We were in Southampton Hospital. Where was Des born?
St. Francis. And,
yeah. So those chairs are everywhere. Yeah. But that's it. That's the instruction you get. You get this 20-minute video, and then you're in charge of this alive little person who can't hold its head up. And I'm lucky that my wife had her daughter. And I was like, hey, baby, what do I do? And she was such a saint through the whole thing. I felt like for the first 6 to 8 months, I felt like an accessory to their relationship.
Right, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Was that your situation too?
I mean, the first few months for sure, because until the baby can really is really seeing you and connecting with you, it is just there's this adorable little lump that just eats and sleeps and poops, you know?
And Cassandra breastfed. So one day she's like, listen, and Henry never did a bottle. So she was like, listen, if he gets up in the middle of the night, I have to wake up anyway. Yeah. She's like, so I'll just get up and you just, go to work the next day, which was a blessing because Daddy likes to sleep.
It was a little different for us because Karen did breastfeed, but she would pump and then I would feed the baby sometimes. Because I really was, from the beginning, I want this to be as down the middle as possible, So we would take shifts basically, and we'd switch them off. So she would feed the baby, and then she would pump, and then she would sleep, and then I would take the next phase, and so on and so forth. Or we would do okay, I'm gonna take these 3 shifts, and you sleep that whole time, and then we'll switch off, and I'll sleep.
I don't want to seem like I never woke up with
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying what my experience was, because the way we had it, that's the way we did it. And it was delirious. I was obviously so tired for those months, But, I mean, when I look back on it, the hardest time really is that time when they first can start moving by themselves, because it's just they're just trying to kill themselves constantly, Putting stuff in their mouths, and they're not supposed to put in their mouths, and it's oh wait, no.
Put that chainsaw down. Yeah. How did you lift a chainsaw? No, I miss it. And things changed for us when Henry got a year old, and then it became very, once we found Henry and I's connection and our dad time. But now it's a lot. Now it's the stuff we talked about before. I'm constantly trying to have time with them, constantly trying to work, constantly trying to do stuff like this where I still scratch that itch of the creative disease I've had since I was 16. And it's hard. And I think there's a lot of dad fatigue out there, and I don't think it is appreciated as much as mom fatigue. We both can be tired and have worked really hard. I'm not saying, I'm saying they deserve it, but I'm saying we deserve it too. I don't think that's as much respected, Long Island or not.
But I think that is, like you were saying, a carryover just from the way it used to be. And I think I think you're just like I think a lot of that comes from people older than us. You know, where it's like, you know, the generation before us, things were more like the dad just kind of like did not the bare minimum, but didn't do as much, and the mom was expected to carry most of the load, right?
Yeah.
And I think in general, when you talk to most dads or people our age, I think you talk to most people and they'll talk about how equitable it is. If I think the relationship is, you know, good and solid, you know, but I think, you know, I can remember like when my wife's brother, when his wife had their first baby, their first child together, because the child before, you know, there was just a little bit of this like, she'd be like, you know how it is, like they don't know how to change a diaper, and I was like, what are you talking about? I change just as many diapers as she did. It's like, it's one of those things where it's the same thing like when I would like, when we have holidays and I'll bring over like something I cooked for the holiday.
Yeah.
Like my wife's dad will be like, you know how to do this kind of thing?
Yeah, and
I'm like, yeah.
That is gone.
Yeah,
that stuff is
you know?
gone. The gender roles, if they're not gone, they're pretty close. Like you know, in my house, you know, Henry calls them mama's tools. Because that's what they are. You know, like when something needs to get fixed in the house, I am third on the list.
Yeah.
It's Cassandra, one of the dogs, and then maybe I'll get a stab at it.
Right.
Because I'm not that handy of a guy.
Yeah.
You know, but I can cook pretty good. You know, and so, but you know that if you know, even in our business in our shop, if something's broken, Cassandra fixes it. You know, Henry now is like, one of his toys broke. And I was like, he's like, oh, when Mama gets home, I'm asking her to fix this. And I'm like, I can fix it. He goes, we'll wait for Mama. And I'm like, okay.
I know the deal, Dad.
Yeah, I know. It's not really your strength, Papa. She does do way more of the chores than I do, and I constantly think I need to get better at that. Right. But you know, my work is very strenuous. You know, it's a lot. You know, we have a business. We have my job. We have. You know, the kid, and she works hard too. So it's not that either. You know, it's just hard finding the balance of. Yeah. I saw something that said there's two type of people in the world. There's the people who can't relax till everything is clean, and there's people who can't clean till they are totally relaxed, and those people marry each other. And that's you know, that's my situation there. Are you guys?
It's similar, I think, in a lot of ways. I think I heard this thing which I thought really, really helped me and my wife sort of like figure out how to do what you're talking about, which is that, you know, they say, some people say marriage is supposed to be 50-50. And like, the person's like, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes it's 80-20.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 100-0. Sometimes it's 50-50. Like, you guys, you know, you guys will have the energy to do a certain percentage differently every day. So like, she said, like, me and my husband started going like, I only got 40 today. Like, you know,
I said I've read once relationships are always 80-20. Just half the time you're 20, half the time you're the 80. And I believe in that a little bit. You know, do you think you're a better dad or a better husband?
It's tough. I think I'm a better dad if I'm being really honest with myself.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a good husband, but I think that like, I think in some ways I've kind of like always just been waiting to like be a dad in a lot of ways. So I feel like very good at it, you know, and I take a lot of pride in how good I am at it, you know, in a lot of ways. And so I definitely think I'm better at that. But I also like, you know, I try my best to, you know, really pay attention to what my wife is feeling and like what her energy level is and stuff, and try to, if I have the energy myself, like, you know, fill in the gap that she's missing. And just knowing like when she needs like time to herself and when she doesn't, and when she needs a break and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think my shortcoming as a husband a lot of the time is, just like with being a dad thing, is I'm bad at regulating it for myself. Like, I basically will just keep giving until I've got nothing left unless somebody stops me from doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes I'll get like angry or feel like I'm being underappreciated, and I have to like stop myself and be like, you're doing this because you want to do it. You're not. No one asked you to do this. You know, and I've got to like check myself sometimes with that, or to really get better at being like, look, I have nothing today. you know, and I'm trying to get better at that. That's a shortcoming for me.
Makes sense. I think I definitely am a better dad than a better husband, but I think I'm a really good dad. And I think I'm such a good dad. It's probably the best part of me as a husband.
I agree.
Like if she really had to make a list, like, you know, being a good dad, provider, everybody's loved at the house. I do this one cool thing in the bedroom she likes. And that's the list. So that's the list. Do I need to do more dishes and laundry? Absolutely. Yeah. But there's no instruction manual on that either.
I mean, there's a lot of books they've written about it.
I don't know how to read, as you know.
As you told your college
I
professor.
told my college professor. I did get a B in that class. But do you have like a worst dad moment that you look back and you're like, man, I wish I could take that back?
I don't know if it's a singular moment, but it
doesn't have to be like I screwed up and I was a terrible dad. It could be something embarrassing. It doesn't have to be like,
I know. I just think in general, I try to fix this, but sometimes especially when I get scared, like when I get worried about him, I will yell. Like it's the first thing I will do. I will just yell. Yeah. Because I get so scared and I get so nervous and I feel like I have to yell to like stop the situation from happening, or I'm just like so overloaded, you know? And I hate that because the look on his face when I yell at him is like the worst thing in the world, you know? And I really try to that if I yell at him and I feel like I've done it without cause or I've overreacted, I try to sort of be like, hey bud, really sorry. Daddy shouldn't have done that. Yeah. I should not have reacted that way. It was not okay. Like, so like that that is like the main weakness I think I have as a dad. And I think I get that a little bit from my dad. My dad is also a yeller. And I really tried to stop it and really tried to, you know, to stamp it down a little bit. Those are the times where I feel like the worst as a dad. I mean, the other things are just like, my son has intentions to potentially hurt himself. We've been to the emergency room twice for like stitches. And one time he like sliced his ear, so it's like top of his ear was basically flipping off, and we had to go to the emergency room, and they had to sew his ear back together. And they had local anesthesia, and then it wore off halfway through them stitching it.
Gotta scream. He's
screaming, and he's grabbing my hand. Like the doctor asked me to hold his ear while he was doing it. God. And he starts when it starts hurting him again. He starts saying, "Please, Daddy, please help me."
God. No, thank you.
And I had, in that moment, I had a full-on anxiety panic attack. And I had to, like, my wife had to take over and I had to go to the bathroom because I, was hyperventilating. Like, so that was, like, the worst moment as a dad where I felt the most, like, powerless, you know?
Mine are similar problems. And I hear a lot of millennial dads with the story of, like, I yelled first, right? Yeah. And I've learned with Henry, like, the biggest currency in his universe is my time and attention. Mm-hmm. So when things get super frustrating, I'll like yell back, you know what, I'm not hanging out with you tonight. Mm-hmm. Go outside and go somewhere else. And like one time I yelled at him like that, whatever it was, and like I shut the door and he walked outside and I just looked through the window in the door and he's got just his head down, like moping on the stairs, and he just sits on the stairs and he's 4 and he's like, looks like the sad, beaten old man. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's this little kid, you know, you're 40, like just like find a better way. But we have come to the point now where, like, when those things happen, because they're going to happen, right?
Of course.
Henry will be like, hey, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, all right, let's talk about it. And we'll embrace each other and we'll hug. And I'll be like, hey, I got frustrated because of this. And, you know, me sorry, me not do that ever again. You know, I love you. You know, like, and I just make sure he understands why it happened. And it seems to be a product. Like, I wish I could say I'm never going to yell at my kid. Like, that would make me so happy. Yeah. If the genie came and gave me 3 wishes, I wish I never yelled at my kid again. It's so high on the list. Yeah. But now at least, like, there's an avenue to fix it pretty quickly. You know, and we're doing really well with that. Yeah. So my other worst dad moment. We sleep in the same bed, which is. We'll do a whole nother episode about co-sleeping and how Jeff needs to move on from that, but he loves the snuggles too much. But so we're all laying in bed, and Henry's sleeping on my arm, and he wakes up, and he goes, Dada, me soaking wet. And we had never had any bedroom bath problems, pee-pee problems in the bed. And I got up, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm soaking wet, too. And Cassandra's like, what's going on? I'm like, there's piss all over the bed, and I'm screaming and I'm yelling, and I'm like, everybody up, we gotta do the sheets. And Henry's like, me no do it, Dad, and me no do it. I'm like, Henry, there's pee everywhere. I look at my underwear, I had pissed my fucking pants. I had the pee-pee dream. I had the pee-pee dream where I was in a bathroom in Wrigley Stadium, a big trough, and I was so worried about the guy next to me looking at it. I was just thinking about peeing so much, and I looked down, my underwear was soaked. I yelled at the whole family, and I had peed the bed. To this moment, Cassandra goes, you know, you've peed the bed more than your son has.
That's amazing.
I didn't think that would be something I'd have to deal with. But any of those in your life? Anything? I know that's a lot. I mean, tonight is young. Tonight is young.
I think of like that. Nothing really super embarrassing that I recall. Maybe I blocked it out. I'm sure I've done embarrassing things. You know, most of them is just like overreacting and then feeling stupid afterwards. It's really a lot of what it is. You know what I mean? Like, where sometimes I just like, especially when he was younger, like then we're like you said, like you yell like that and you're like, what am I doing?
What am I doing? I'm the adult.
He doesn't have the facilities or the knowledge or the intelligence or like the emotional like aptitude to know at all what he's doing. What am I doing? And so I really have to check myself with that. You know, now it's a little different because now, sometimes.
What's that? What's that mean?
It's when they get. So he's definitely crossed over into like. He's just a little boy now, you know?
Yeah.
And little boys can be little shits sometimes, and like, you know, sometimes he'll talk back, he'll get sassy. The real times I really have to like catch myself is sometimes he'll say something. I'm like, how dare you say something like in my mind? And
like a lawyer from the South. Yeah. How dare you, sir?
Yeah. This is a disgrace. But then I'm like, that's kind of exactly something that I would say. You know, like at that moment where you're like, he has like the same sense of humor that I do. So he'll be like, my wife made him dinner. And it was like chicken nuggets, but they got like a little bit burnt on the ends. She puts it down and he goes, well, this certainly looks unique.
Hey, eat your dino nuggets.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's call it a meal.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm so glad you're here. As I said before, we've been friends. Are we on 25 years?
I mean, it was, no, 20, about 20 years. Because it's 2005-ish. No, I'm sorry, you're right. No, you're right. It is. It's like 22, 23 years.
Yeah. And you've, pretty much been my best friend the whole time.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with dads our age, I feel like we lose our friends a little bit. Have you, I mean, I know listen, I'm in a unique situation where I had kids late. Yeah. And all my friends I grew up with had their kids when they were like 28, 29. And then I was still like, let's go to the Boardy Barn and the Drift Inn and Buckley's. And they're like, actually, we have a preschool play right now. And so they all bonded together. And I didn't get pushed out. It just was different priorities, right? Yeah. And so I kind of lost those friends. And then when I had my kid, I was 38 when Henry was born. 38 when Henry was born. They had already gone through the kid thing and weren't around as much. We have very close friends we had together who I don't hang out with anymore. No. I don't think you know what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, of course.
I hung out with them and their kid forever, and then they haven't seen my kid in a year. So I feel like that part of being a dad, right?
It definitely is, and I think, also I get people will get to know you as you do the show more and more. But you definitely have a more particular focus, I think, on socializing than a lot of other people do. And I think sometimes that can be a real struggle for you because I think a lot of people don't feel the same like immediacy or the same like being vital, right? To like keep hanging out, I think. And that's not a dig against you at all. That's just like I think you run into that a little bit too, where it's like, you no matter how tired you are ever from whatever, whether it's a kid or anything else, you're like, yeah, but I'll go out. Where I feel like most people are just like, it's like the last thing they want to do sometimes,
I have this thing and it's a curse. I would say blessing and curse, but it's a curse. I feel like if someone invites me somewhere, if I say no, I'm never going to get invited again. So my first thought is like, say yes, figure it out.
Yeah.
And then where that hurts me is no one else feels that way. So I invite people out and they're like, nope. And I'm like, well, okay. And then I keep, like if nothing else, as being a friend, I have like I feel my effort to keep the friendship around has been like, not with you, but
no,
just
no, you are great at the effort. No, dude, that's no, there's no shade. And I do feel like, I will say that I think since you've had Henry,
yeah,
even though you still keep wanting to hang out, which is great, I think your mindset, even if you don't realize it, has changed a little bit. Where I don't think you put as much pressure on it as you used to. Because like in the past, I think before you had Henry, if a couple of people said no to you a couple times, you would start to get a little bit like,
well, now I got this
frustrated and angry.
I got this tiny little best friend.
Exactly.
Exactly. Always, Henry says yes every time.
So I think that like, kind of changed your mindset a little bit about it. You know, and I just think like as you get older, unfortunately, and you know, you kind of have to reframe or recontextualize what a friendship means in a lot of ways. You know, and it's like for me, it really has just become when I see the people I don't see a lot,
yeah,
I'm going to enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah. And
then when I'm not with them, even though like, oh man, I wish I could see them more, you know, I'm not going to let that ruin like the rest of it, you know? So that's at least like what I try to do, right? Is like, let's just enjoy the time I have with these people that I love, even though we don't get to see each other anymore. And sometimes maybe that can be frustrating or insulting or, you know, whatever list of words you want to say. I try really hard to like, just be like, no, but this is what I've got. This is the time I've got with them. I'm just going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do.
Part of my issue with this whole topic might be like, I don't have a lot of family out here. I have exactly zero.
Yeah.
So a lot of me is like, I'm so proud of this little thing I made at the house that I want to share it with all my friends as much as possible. Be like, look at this. Look what he does now. Look at this. Dance, kid. You know, and sometimes I'm like, well, don't you guys want to see this? Like, and I feel the same way with my family. Like when my family doesn't make the time. Like I grew up with a very small family, and we didn't spend time with our cousins or any of that stuff. So now that's one thing I really wish I could change for Henry is that those people are there. So when I'm like we just talked about Christmas, like Christmases we went to see our family, and they were all busy doing stuff with the other sides of their family, and I was like, hey, but isn't it a priority to see this cool thing I made? Like I came all the way out here for this, and everybody's living their own life. So whether it's friends or family. I get that priority of like I'm so proud of this.
Yeah.
I think I want everybody to share it with me.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just
life. I'm probably not reading college. No. That's a little after our time, I think, actually.
I think Scarlett made me read that book.
Really?
Yeah. First ex-girlfriend reference. So I think this is our first episode. Do you have anything you want to add? Well, we have one more segment after this, but just to wrap up, do you have anything you want to throw out to the Long Island dads out there? Anything you want to talk about? You do socially, publicly, social media?
No. I mean, I have a podcast, a movie podcast called The Intrepid Filmographers. It's real nerdy shit. So it's like, I would warn everybody. It's very deep discussions about entire filmographies of a director. So we pick a director, and we watch all of their movies, and each episode is dedicated to one of their movies. And so we're really charting the course through an entire career of a filmmaker.
Have you done Jon Favreau yet?
We haven't done Jon Favreau.
I'm in for that one.
We did.
Can I talk about Swingers exclusively and Made?
We're just wrapping up Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings director. He won, we did a fan poll. Because we try to do less known directors who are sometimes have directed really big movies, but you're like, oh, I don't know that guy's name. Like the guy who made Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski.
Okay.
We did his whole filmography.
He was Jim in The Office, right?
No, that's John Krasinski.
Oh,
so, we did Peter Jackson because he won our our March Madness sort of director bracket. But we'll go back to doing smaller ones. We did Ben Affleck's directorial career. We've done a few others, but that's kind of what we do. I get really deep into not just the movies themselves, but technical stuff, all that kind of stuff. I love the show, and I really love the discussions I have. But you got to really either be really into movies or really want to be really into movies.
Your ads are you guys don't want to watch.
Yeah, no, it's the only thing you see. Only one Marvel movie a year. This is probably not the show for you. But, and I love Marvel movies, but
as Long Island dads,
yeah.
This is
but this is what it is.
So we're gonna end every episode with taking the dad onto the grill, and all dads love to grill. So this segment's gonna be called The Grill. I'm gonna grill this dad with a series of questions.
Okay.
You're supposed to answer quickly.
Okay.
They don't have to be one word.
Okay.
Short little stories. I'm gonna ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
Take as much time as you want, but I'm gonna grill you on these 5 questions. It's about being a dad here on Long Island.
Okay. I'm ready.
First one. What's the one thing you do as a dad you said you'd never do?
Probably let him come into bed in the middle of the night and not make him go back in his bed.
Okay. That's a big Jeff problem. So.
I always thought I was going to be like, no, you have to go back in. And whenever he comes in, I'm like, oh, yeah. Snuggle time.
Yeah. Mine's iPad stuff. I was like, I'm not going to be one of those iPad dads. Now we get to a restaurant, I'm like, watch this so I can enjoy my life.
Yeah,
like, just let me live, enjoy whatever happens there.
Yes. Just be quiet for 45 seconds, please.
There's a Blippy, a YouTube, a Paul thing.
Yeah.
Just watch it.
I don't want to answer a question for at least 30 seconds, okay?
He started downloading games on it now, and he's 4, so he can play them a little bit, but his attention span's like, I need a new game. I need your password. Who's the tougher parent, you or your wife?
Ooh, it's a good question. Oh, man. I think she's a little tougher. It's just weird because we're tough in like different areas. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, what are you overreacting so much about this? And the other time she's like, what are you even getting angry about? I'm like, I don't know.
He knocked out a kid in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Sorry, sore subject.
He definitely, but I will say this, in a very, like, I guess, like, a very stereotypical, traditional dad way, like, he'll definitely misbehave and mouth off and, like, when my wife is telling him to stop, but even if she says, like, you want me to tell your dad about this? He'll be like, no. And he'll stop immediately.
We are the opposite at the Schaefer house.
Oh, okay.
He'd be like, Dada, don't tell Mama, but I spilled my juice. And I'll be like, all right, bro, let's just clean it up. And everything will be cool. Like, all right, we start cleaning. When was the last time you cried in front of your kid?
A couple days ago, probably. We were watching the Wicked trailer. I cry all the time. I cry so much that when we're ever watching any movie, even if it's not a sad movie, he can now, obviously he's 8, so he understands like when like something emotional is happening, he'll look at me like this constantly. He's like, are you crying? Are you crying? I'm like, no, I'm not crying at, you know, the end of Ghostbusters. Like,
I got 2 recently. Have you ever seen the Disney movie Coco?
Yeah.
That movie is pretty freaking heavy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was not ready. I was like, it's the Day of the Dead, skeletons. And like, when people forget about you, you die forever. Like, oh no. I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah, oh yeah. It is an emotional roller coaster, by the way.
The biggest one, have you ever seen, it's always movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you seen Homeward Bound?
Oh yeah, of course.
You've seen Homeward Bound?
Yeah.
So we're watching this movie. Like, here comes a freaking Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment, all 3 of us are in full tears. And like, why won't they let that doggy live in that town? Like, he's a mean man.
Every Saturday we have family movie night.
Yeah.
So we were watching The Iron Giant. I don't know if you've ever seen The Iron Giant. I recommend it highly, especially for Henry. A great movie for little boys, but it's a great movie for everybody. You know, it's about this giant like robot who comes out of space and like can't remember, like all its memories wipes and everything. And this little boy finds it, and it's giant. I mean, it's huge. It's like a kaiju size, like Godzilla size. Yeah. He's trying to hide it from the government or whatever like that. You know, it has a very emotional ending, basically. Because basically the idea is like, the robot thinks that it's built to be a weapon, and the little boy is like, you get to choose, like, who you are. Like, you know, basically.
I like it.
And the end is fully about that. And, like, I know, I've seen it before. So I'm prepared. I'm crying, but I'm like, I know what's happening. And my wife is laying down on the couch, and after the big moment happens, she sits up, and there's tears pouring down her face. She goes, "Why did you tell me?"
And you're like, sit down.
Yeah.
All movies. Think of you, your wife, your mom, and your dad. Rank them top to bottom, best parent to worst. Yes. Oh, you have to answer the question. Then you need to explain why I think you need to rank them out.
That's a very unfair question.
They're not going to. Bob is not listening.
Bob's definitely not listening to this. I don't think Michelle's going to listen to this either. You know, the thing I'll say, I'm not even doing this to be diplomatic. And I know this is like a boring thing to say, and it's also kind of a braggy thing to say. But I had a very good childhood. And my parents were both great. Like I definitely think my mom was like we were talking before, was because of the kind of era, was definitely more involved than my dad, right? In the day-to-day, like, kid stuff, right? Where, like, I would always go to her if I needed something because, you know, like, that was just what my default was. You know, I'd go to her because, you know, whatever. And I know my dad actually, I've learned from my dad hated that.
Oh, God.
Because he was like, you know, basically would say to my mom, like, I don't understand. Like, I've never said no to him. I've never, like, whatever, and it's like, I think that really, knowing that stuff actually really changed the way I thought about a lot of stuff in my life, and even the way I parent sometimes, So I don't know how to really, rank them at all in that way. But my mom definitely, my dad is like a little absent-minded, and always been absent-minded. Not even because he's older now. He's always been absent-minded. So I think in general, like, just like the nut and bolts, taking care, like he'll give you dinner on time. He'll do this time. My mom's definitely better at that stuff. You know what I mean?
So Bob's fourth. Got it.
I'm number one, obviously. I mean, come on.
My wife is number one, and I believe that's the correct answer.
I mean, do you want to be honest?
You sleep in your house. I don't. You do whatever you want.
I can tell you the least likely person to ever watch this is my wife.
The least way.
You know how many podcasts I've done in my life and she's listened to none of them.
Just wait. That's how life works. She's gonna be like, oh, so what am I, third?
Yeah.
And this little segment called The Grill, as we grill dads here on Long Island Dads Club. You can follow us on TikTok. I do a lot of silly videos on TikTok just so people know this exists. And there's a Facebook group. You can look up Long Island Dads Club. We try to grow those things. And the YouTube page where you're probably watching this now, if you've stuck it out this long. This was supposed to be 30 minutes. I have a feeling it's way longer.
It's way longer.
That's great. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Oh, no, we can't talk about that part.
There's no chicken.
There's no chicken here. Give me one piece of advice that you would give to pre-dad Bobby, like before you were a father. One piece of advice you could give yourself.
I would say, kind of in line with what I talked about earlier, is learn how to give yourself a break, basically. Learn when it's time for you to say, I need to pull back. I need some time for myself. I need to rest, whatever, because you'll be a better dad if you're able to come with your full self and not this like strung out, like, tired, overstimulated, exhausted person who is trying to do this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that. So that's what I would say. Trust your partner to like be able to help you and stuff like that.
Awesome. That's why you're a great dad, buddy. This has been our first episode of Long Island Dads Club. Please tell your friends, tell other dads on Long Island that you enjoyed this, or it was terrible, whatever. Just tell them it exists, and we'll be here, dads supporting dads. Have a great night. Cheers.
Hopefully it's still recording. I thought about that like halfway through. I was like, dude, usually I'm like looking, at a thing.
It was nice.
It was nice. It's still recording.
That's great news.